All right, friends, so training camp just opened up for the Steelers, and honestly, I figured the first real news out of camp was going to be simple stuff. Guys settling into positions, normal reps getting handed out. But that's not what happened. Instead, we got a situation with one of our key defensive guys that just got a lot more complicated. Something tied to a contract that's been the talk of the offseason, plus a shakeup in one of our position rooms that nobody really called. And on top of that, a change to how this team actually practices that's honestly pretty rare for this coaching staff. So stick around because I'm going to break down exactly what's going on with all of this and why I think today changed the picture for this team heading into camp. Hello, Steelers fans. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So let me get into it, and I want to start with the situation that honestly stood out the most to me right away. Omar Khan came out and gave the usual training camp update, and he mentioned two guys going on the PUP list to start camp, Jalen Ramsey and Dante Kent. Okay, fine, that's normal camp stuff, injuries happen, nobody panics over that, but then, shortly after that, we find out there's a third name added to that PUP list, and it's Joey Porter Jr. And look, that's the same Joey Porter Jr. who's been looking for a big contract extension all offseason and still doesn't have that deal done. So now you're sitting there wondering, okay, how is this actually going to play out? Because we've seen situations before around the league where a guy without a deal handles camp a certain way and you just didn't know what to expect here. And what made it even more interesting to me is what Omar Khan said right before that news dropped. He basically said he expects anybody who's healthy and able to practice. I mean, that's a pretty direct statement, right? But then I guess you can't really play if you're not healthy, can you? So now this back injury that Joey Porter Jr. is reportedly dealing with, it's a unique one because honestly, I think there's really only one cure for this specific kind of injury. And I think you know what I'm getting at here, guys. A stack of cash, that's the remedy. I mean, you can't send that from outside the building, that's gotta come from the Steelers themselves. But I'll tell you what, I think a stack of cash cures that back injury pretty much immediately. And you gotta get the dosage right too. Can't be too low, because if it's too low, that back is not gonna budge one bit. Might even feel worse, honestly. But you also can't go too high, because then you're the Steelers and you're worried about handling other back injuries that might pop up down the line with other guys. So there's a balance here. And I think once that dosage number gets up into a certain range, that back starts feeling a whole lot better. And this actually connects to something that just happened around the league that I think matters a lot here. We just saw Denzel Ward sign an extension with the Cleveland Browns, and he is now the highest paid corner in the league on a per-year basis, over $31 million a year. And I've said this before, I really do believe Joey Porter Jr. should have made the Pro Bowl over Denzel Ward last season. I know Denzel Ward has got the bigger name at this point, he's been doing it longer, but honestly, I think Joey Porter Jr. is the better corner right now. So does this Denzel Ward deal actually mean anything for where the Joey Porter Jr. negotiations end up? I think it might, honestly, because you also got Robert Kraft talking about wanting to make Christian Gonzalez the highest paid corner in the league, and that number's got to be somewhere around $32, $33 million, which would put him above Trent McDuffie. So if Joey Porter Jr. is watching all these deals come in and he's sitting there thinking, hey, I'm just as good as these guys, why would I settle for 25, 27, 28 million? I mean, that's a fair way to look at it from his side. But here's the thing that I think really determines how this all plays out. If the Steelers don't view Joey Porter Jr. as a top 5 corner in this league, and honestly, I don't think they do right now, that's when this whole back injury situation might not get resolved anytime soon. And you gotta wonder, is there a concern here that the longer this drags out, the price just keeps climbing? Because that's usually how it goes in these situations. Now let me shift over to the quarterback room, because this is where things got genuinely surprising to me. Going into this, Will Howard was the guy getting all the talk. He had the pole position for that backup job. He was getting all the QB2 reps throughout OTAs. We even heard from Mason himself saying the coaching staff had told him they were going to limit his reps and give more of those reps to the younger guys so they could develop. He basically said, yeah, expect fewer reps because they want to see the other guys. That was kind of communicated to him when he first got in. But now Mason is starting camp as the QB2, the backup, right there in that quarterback competition. Aaron is going to take the first team reps, Mason's going to start out with the second group, and Drew and Will are going to take that third group of reps. And honestly, I said just yesterday that my bet was Mason was going to be the odd man out here. So now I don't really know what to think anymore, I'll be honest with you. But I'll say this again, I do believe Mason gives this team the best chance to win right now if something happens and he's needed in a regular season game, if Rodgers goes down. I'm sticking with that take. And that might still be the case no matter how well Will Howard or Drew Allar perform in the preseason. Because at the end of the day, it's preseason. You never really know until the live bullets are flying in a game that actually counts. So it looks like Mason's legit back in the mix here. Maybe he never even really left. And it's not just that he's getting those QB2 reps, which shouldn't be taken lightly at all, but McCarthy is also opening the door to the idea of carrying 4 quarterbacks on this roster. 4 is an option. And honestly, I don't see why it wouldn't be. I think all 4 of these guys, if you're building a team today, would be part of that 53-man roster conversation. That's a pretty loaded room when you think about it. Now, let me get into probably the biggest change out of everything today, and this one is a real shift in how this organization operates. Mike McCarthy came out and said there is going to be no live tackling for the Steelers in training camp this year. He said straight up, we won't do live tackling. And guys, that is a massive change compared to how Mike Tomlin used to run these camps. Because under Tomlin, the Steelers were tackling, and tackling at a rate that honestly made Steelers camps some of the most physical in the entire league. There was actually a chart put together by The Athletic a couple years back asking teams around the league how often they do full tackle to the ground drills in practice, and the Steelers were listed as one of the teams that does it very often. Tomlin had this line where he said, you can't box without sparring, that they play an intense, competitive game, and he wasn't doing his guys justice if he didn't create an environment that reflected what was waiting for them on Sundays. And Justin Fields, when he was with the team, even said he didn't think there were many teams in this league still doing full tackling like that, said it's got to be under 3 teams, if that. And based on that same chart, the other teams in that often category were Andy Reid's Chiefs, Mike McDaniel's Dolphins at the time, and Dan Campbell's Lions. So now you got McCarthy completely moving away from that. And I'll be honest, I was surprised by how few teams around the league actually do full tackling in camp, because with Tomlin being here so long, it just felt like the standard. Like that's just what training camp was supposed to look like. And look, I'm not saying this to take a shot at how Tomlin did things. There's different approaches, different philosophies, and clearly some of it works, because you look at Andy Reid's group, they tackle often too, and they've had a ton of success over the last decade. But it does make you wonder, right? Could that physical style have played a part in some of those late season stretches where we just looked worn down, getting blown out by halftime against some of these better teams? I mean, if you really want to connect the dots, maybe you could take it that far. Though you also got to remember we've had stretches in December where we looked really good out there too, so it's not that simple either way. Either way, I'm hoping this new approach from McCarthy ends up being the right move and that it gives this team a real advantage once the regular season rolls around, especially late in the year when it matters most. So that's what today gave us, a corner situation that's more complicated than it looked, a quarterback room that's shifting in a way nobody fully expected, and a coaching philosophy change that's genuinely rare for this franchise. A lot to watch heading into the rest of camp. Let me know down in the comments what you think about all of this, and I'll catch you in the next one.